Welcome back to episode 177 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. Another week of baseball has gone by. Pretty much, we've seen all these teams play their first 10 to 12 games of the season. So we kind of have some thoughts and some reactions we'd like to share. And we also have some other news. IL. We got IL Stints, unfortunately. We've got rookie sensation making his debut. Kyle wants to talk some ABS, which I'm very interested in that conversation coming up. And, of course, our teams. But another week of baseball has gone by. And before we get into everything, of course, Kyle, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Baseball's in full effect now. I'm still kind of getting into the swing of things a little bit. I mean, obviously it's different for you because you're working at Dodger Stadium, but for me, um, yeah, I'm just trying to come home from work some days and I'm like, oh shit, the Yankees are on, or there's a baseball game on. It's kind of those you know beginning of the beginning of the season kind of things to get adapted to again. But yeah, I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been my last day of work was last Wednesday, and I was exhausted. I was beat after working, the opening week of the season. So it's been nice the last couple of days to kind of just relax, chill out, enjoy some baseball. I watched a lot of baseball over the weekend. The Dodgers were in Washington D.C., and all three of their games started in the afternoon, including here local time Friday. The game was at 10 in the morning, so by 1:30 the Dodgers were done, and I'm like, what the hell do I do now? So
It's insane.
it was nice that I was able to watch some of the other teams. Uh, I watched a lot of Yankees. I watched a lot of Red Sox, Cubs. Got to see some Padres, some Giants in there as well. So it was nice for the first. This was my first opportunity of the season to really kind of sit down. Like, okay, let me start watching these teams and see what these things are about. I saw Pirates, the Konnor Griffin debut, so that was pretty cool to see on Friday. But yeah, you mentioned it, baseball. We're in the full swing of things, and very excited, very, very, very excited to be back at the ballpark. But don't get me wrong, I enjoy the time off as well. But probably by tomorrow or by Wednesday, I'll be like, okay, I'm ready to get back to work now. So, but
Understandable.
for now, enjoy this little time off. And I got this little pin. I always collect these every year. I'm a big pen collector. They give these out. I don't know if you can see it, but
Very cool.
opening
Yeah.
day, Dodgers, Diamondbacks. They do those every year for the opening day of the season. So that was really cool to have. So there you go. And of course, with my other team, the Lakers. God damn it, I could never have anything nice. I was so convinced that this team was gonna go somewhere this year, and then last Thursday they I get screwed. On a night when the Dodgers weren't playing and the Kings were stinking it up, I watched the Lakers completely get their doors blown off, and then I see Luka and Reeves out for the season. So just a reminder to all you people out there that you gotta enjoy things while it lasts, because not everything lasts forever. Enjoy the moment when you can, because someday it'll be snatched away from you and you'll never know. So uh,
Very true. Very true.
yes. So before we get into everything, I told Kyle this before we started. I've been, um, again, I should have probably asked you this honestly while we were in Houston, but
Mm.
this is a WBC related trivia question, and I haven't seen it anywhere else. So this is maybe the first time. Maybe I just created a trivia question. So let's see if Kyle can figure this one out. I think he will.
Okay.
There is only one active stadium in Major League Baseball that has hosted the World Baseball Classic Championship game and Game 7 of the World Series in the same season. Give me the stadium and the year.
Wow. In the same year.
I can't go further than that because then I think I'm going to start. Then it gives it away.
In the same year. Well, it's been played in Miami
There was a
the
player.
last.
There was a player on one of the teams in that WBC championship game that also played in the World Series that same season as well.
Wow. Okay. So
Well,
that makes me
technically
think.
two. Yeah, I think there's two players. both on different teams. Both were on both were on the same country team, but then when they met up in the World Series, they were on the opposite teams.
Okay. That makes me. Was it 2017?
2017. Okay, you got the year. What's the stadium?
Wasn't Houston, was it?
It was not Houston.
Dodger Stadium.
Dodger Stadium. There you go. Ding,
Okay.
ding, 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 ding. See, I knew you would get
Dodger
it.
Stadium, 2017. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean it took me back a little bit, but then I'm thinking to myself that if there's two players on the same team, it couldn't have been that long ago. And the WBC only happens every 3 to 4 years. So,
Those two
okay.
players
Yeah.
were Kike Hernandez and Carlos Correa for Puerto Rico.
Okay. Yeah.
They played in
No,
the
that makes sense.
championship game. They lost, but then they went up against each other in the World Series that same season.
Okay. Huh. The more you know.
The more you know. So there's your little WBC trivia
I
for
like
you. I wish, again, it's too late now. I wish I would have told you a month ago. But,
mhm.
eh, better late than never, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got it. So, I was hoping that. And Kyle's usually good with the trivia. I didn't want this to be a thing where, we're on minute 20 and Kyle's still trying to figure this out. I'm like, okay, this was not the point of this. I was supposed to give Kyle, like, it's a trivia question, but it's also supposed to be, like, it's not supposed to be impossible. But thankfully,
No.
you didn't make it impossible.
No, I just had to scroll through the Rolex a little bit up here. Gets a little foggy there sometimes, but had to dust it off a little bit, but we're good.
Yeah, and it hurts me that I figured that out because obviously my team was involved and they
Yeah.
hosted Game 7 of the World Series that year, and lost. But anyways, moving on to current times, we've got, of course, overreactions: Joe Adell, IL, Konnor Griffin, ABS, and Dodgers, Yankees. Um, this is kind of basically like things we've seen, from this previous week. Um, just kind of looking around, and I posted the MLB bracket, the postseason picture on Saturday, which I don't know how I was able to figure that one out because we're at this point of the early this season where a lot of teams haven't played the same amount of games. Some teams have the same identical record even though they haven't played each other yet. Thankfully, wasn't too bad, and thankfully I got no pushback because I was ready to defend myself and say, hey, if you got a problem with what the bracket is, that's what it's giving me on MLB.com. So if you got a
Yeah.
problem with it, talk to them. So, I guess one overreaction from me. How about the Blue Jays
Hmm.
getting swept over the weekend in Chicago? And I saw this funny meme of, with the new Pope we have, Pope Leo. Obviously he's a big White Sox fan. He was not going to allow the White Sox to lose on Easter Sunday or Easter weekend, really. So I don't know. Maybe that had something to do with it, but there was definitely some magic in that building over the weekend in Chicago. They swept all three games, and all three games ended in similar fashion. Just some bad defense from the Blue Jays, and unfortunately, they got hit with the injury bug a little bit as well. But again, this might be going a little bit too far. And again, it's just This is like game. This is week 2 of however many weeks there is in a season. We're not even 10% of the way through with this season.
Yeah.
Blue Jays in
That's
danger of missing the playoffs. There's an overreaction for you.
that is exactly why we're calling this overreactions.
Yes.
Man, I
How about the
the
Marlins? You buying
Athletics.
into the Marlins yet?
Uh,
I mean, they
I like
really
what
got
they're doing.
they got humbled at Yankee Stadium a little bit the last couple nights, but
I listen, man. Game 2. If it wasn't for that Yankees comeback, the Marlins could have came out of that winning 2 out of 3 and winning the series. I mean, you're in a division that you're going to have to keep this up as long as you can. You have the Mets trailing you, the Phillies and the Braves. I I don't see it lasting, but hey, it's a cool story. And listen, for for all the people who want to like shit on the Marlins all the time, they're not a bad team.
no.
They're really not. They have a lot of young guys on there that maybe you never really heard of them, but I'll tell you one kid who I'm extremely excited about, and I speak highly of him every time that we get a chance to, and that's Xavier Edwards. He, dude, he just his his plate vision and his at bats are just other level. And for his age, if he can blossom that a little bit more and just with the mechanics and everything else, dude, he could turn into a really really solid ball player. Their pitching staff, it's not that bad, man. Um, Meyer, who pitched in the second game of the series, he looked really good. Um, Pete Fairbanks coming out of the bullpen, that's kind of crazy, or kind of being the opener, but overall, Marlins aren't that bad, man. They're really not.
Um, just kind of looking around at the standings and some of these stats so far.
Yeah, and before we talked about the Marlins, the A's, man,
Yeah,
they're kind of off to a slow start, 3-6. That's a division that, hey, I think I had them finishing in third place. You had them in fourth. You weren't quite ready to put them there yet, but the A's are definitely underwhelming for sure this year. Shea Langoliers is having a hell of a year so far. I think he leads the league in home runs, but yeah, the A's are another one for me. San Francisco, this one kind of hurts me a little bit because I was really high on them.
I think you put them
Uh,
two. No, I think to
I
start. Yeah,
yeah, I put them two to start the year, and yeah, I don't know, man. They just don't look.
just my dream. The Padres and Giants are going to be battling for fifth place this year in the NL West. That's my dream, and I might get it this year.
That'd be something.
Um, I'm looking at the stats here. Murakami's off to a fantastic start with the White Sox, and he's making my AL Rookie of the Year pick look very good to start this season.
He
Fastest
is.
Japanese player to hit 4 home runs in Major League Baseball history. That's insane. Um, over 40 home runs for Murakami this year, maybe.
I'll be honest with you, man. I don't think that's much of an overreaction. I think it's a lukewarm take. I think it is. It's unlikely he gets there, but it's definitely not out of the question. I mean, dude, if he gets the playing time that we obviously expect him to get with Chicago, dude, his his at bats just look good. They do, and if he can continue that all year, I don't think it's out there, man.
Cal Raleigh is currently leading the American League in strikeouts with 20. He's off to a bad start.
Yeah, dude, he was benched in the one game against the Yankees. It's nuts.
Now then he
I mean,
came off. Then he came off the bench and walked it
yeah,
off.
of
But
course.
other than that, he's had a pretty abysmal start to the season.
Yeah, dude, and like that that was in the WBC too. He
This is
started
where it
off his
started.
Yeah, he was benched for Will Smith in the WBC in those big games, rightfully so in my opinion. That was I was me and you both were saying that he should have started the WBC to begin with, but it doesn't take away anything from Cal Raleigh. Obviously, he's going to come around. He had 60 homers last year. I think he's going to come around, but he's definitely in some kind of funk right now for sure.
Jordan Alvarez is off to a great start as well.
Yeah,
If he stays healthy, top 3 finish in the American League voting, MVP voting this season.
I think that's a little out there.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
said
more
if
of a
he
hot
stays
take.
healthy.
Yeah, true. Trying to think of what else that I saw over the week. I think overall, just kind of some underwhelming games,
Yeah,
honestly. I mean, dude, if you look at MLB.com and you look at the standings where every team is at, obviously, there's a lot of teams in positions that we did not expect. Number one, Boston for me, fifth place in the AL East, 2-7. That's not great. You have Toronto,
you
like
got
you
kids
mentioned.
that are starving in Boston now because they
Yeah,
can't eat for free.
very true. Um, Seattle 4-6 to start the year. We talked about I almost said Oakland, but the Athletics 3-6. The Phillies 5-4. Not I mean they're still over 500, but
How about
um,
the Angels 5-5? Holy shit!
yeah, the
You
Cubs
haven't lost
four
the
and
fan base yet.
not yet.
Give it 2 weeks. We'll get there.
Yep. I mean, honestly, Joe Adell's game and Mike Trout starting the year hot. It
Yeah.
sells the ticket. Yes.
Yeah. There's
The
only four
Giants.
teams in the American League that are over 500 right now.
Yeah.
Well, no, three technically. No, three. The Angels are at 500, and the other three are above. Everybody else is below 500. Now, when I say that, it's not like they're 20 games under. Most of these teams are only a game under, but still.
Yeah. But don't look now, but the Yankees have the biggest lead in for a first place team. 3 games.
Yeah, I think too. Every other team in that division's under 500 to start.
Tampa Bay and Toronto are tied for second with 4-5. Baltimore's 3-6, and Boston's 2-7.
Yeah, there you go.
Crazy.
We'll see how the rest of this plays out. The National League seems to have the normal suspects at the bottom: the Rockies, the Nationals, and then you look at your division leaders right now. Of course, Dodgers, Brewers, and then you got this Marlins team that's kind of off to a decent start
Cool,
here.
man. It's it's honestly such like a cool thing to see some of these other teams. Even listen, we all know it's not going to last. We all know that the Marlins are not going to win the NL East, but it's cool to see for a little bit at least.
Right.
Yeah, especially because, dude, I still, out of all the young teams in the league, I truly do think the Marlins get the most overlooked. Number one, because they're just they just can't fill the seats at Lone Depot Park. But number two, they're in a small market. They're in a market that's not really known as a baseball town. So it's cool to see these young guys coming together.
And lastly, before we move on, I'll tell you a team that I'm very disappointed in to start the season: Chicago Cubs,
Yeah,
4-5. Um, it seems like it's the same script the last couple years with these teams. It's the Cubs get off to a slow start. The Brewers get off to a complete hot start. And I know people make the argument, well, these games in March and April don't matter. Yes, they do, because
absolutely.
when we get to August and the division is out of reach, you're looking around and wondering, well, what the hell happened? It's the slow start that the Cubs have seemed to have been getting off to the last couple seasons, and shout out to the Brewers. They're off and running again, 7-2, winning that division. But one team that I'm very disappointed in is the Cubs, because I had them as a wild card team, and I think I had that division. I think I remember mentioning in the preview of the Central that I had this division being one of the closest. And
Yeah.
I know we still got a long way to go, but not like what I've seen out of the Cubs so far. I know they're beating the Rays in their home opener to start right now, but still, kind of a little disappointed in the Chicago Cubs to start. But
Yeah, and honestly too, you kind of touched on that a little bit with these games don't matter. We always hear that in April and even May a little bit. Listen, I will say this. These games matter just as much as the games in September matter, just as much as any other game throughout the season. And being a Yankees fan, I know this all too well. Over the last few years, the Yankees have been phenomenal to start the year. They always go on these stretches where they take a commanding lead in the AL East, and once the dog days come, August, September, they're rolling into the postseason. And if it wasn't for them getting off to such a hot start at the beginning of the year, they wouldn't be in that position. And it's happened to the Yankees over the last few years of why they can't seem to go over that next hump. And I look back at 2024 when they met the Dodgers in the World Series. That team stayed consistent all year long. So if you have that consistency throughout the entire season, you kind of are set up for success. So these games do matter. I'm not saying you got to break your TV over an April
right,
6th game that you lose. But what I am saying is don't take it lightly and say, oh, we'll get them tomorrow. No, that's not always the case, because tomorrow or today's game might be the difference whether or not you can play tomorrow. So, you know, These games do matter, and that's why I'm looking at teams like the Yankees who have struggled. Their hot starts really do matter at the beginning of the year.
Moving on to the other topics we have, we're gonna do Joe Adell. Of course, he had a fantastic game. I want to say, yes, Saturday night. Yep, Saturday. He robbed 3 home runs in that game, including where he fell into the stands in the ninth inning to help preserve a 1-0 lead. So you can honestly say single-handedly Joe Adell won the game for the Angels that night against the Mariners. But I honestly, I think that's probably the best defensive game ever. Like, just
Yeah.
in terms of the score,
Yep.
robbing the 3 home runs. That's the first time in history. I don't know, you mentioned it in your video you put out yesterday as well. That's the first time in history that anybody's robbed 3 home runs in a single game. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Which do you think is more impressive? Hitting 3 home runs in a game or robbing 3 home runs in a game?
I want to say robbing 3 home runs in a game. And I say that because those catches were not like your normal, like, oh, I'm going to jump for this catch. No, those were home run robbery catches. Those were, I mean, Joe Adell was in the stands. I mean, yes, it did give us one of the most iconic photos that woman took with her smartphone, but I I think it takes a little bit more just umph to get those 3 home runs than it is to hit them, obviously.
And for people that don't understand the way Angel Stadium works, so he robbed 2 in the out against the outfield wall. For people that don't know, for the longest time, because the Angel Stadium wall in right field, it's way higher, and then there's seats above it.
Hmm.
Before, back in the day, like 10, 15 years ago, it used to be that yellow line. You had to hit the ball over. You had to hit the ball above that wall for it to be a home run. Anything below it was a double or anything like that. And then, I mean, I guess it got to the point where it's like, hey, like, these guys have no chance of robbing these because it's obviously you have no chance to jumps because the wall's so high. So I think a couple seasons ago they recently dropped it to where there's like this green wall, and then above it is like this wall with like the LED boards and stuff with the other scores and stuff like that. Then they consider that a home run. So I mean, honestly, it probably made it easier for the hitters because now they don't have to get a higher elevation and hit it into the actual seats. They can just, hit it against that wall and it's a home run. But, yeah, I think I gotta agree with you. And
Hmm.
and there's only been one in the history of baseball that
Yeah.
this has only happened once. We've seen plenty of guys hit 3 home runs in a single game. Which, don't get me wrong, that's super impressive as well. I'm not taking away from that. That's
Yeah.
incredibly hard to do. But yeah, I think I gotta agree with you on that one. Just to and again, the thing that made it most impressive is that it helped win the Angels a game. Because
Yeah.
I think if, don't get me wrong, it would have been incredible. But if the score was like 8-0 Angels, and the game was
Yeah.
in doubt, maybe it doesn't have the same lore or the same effect. But because the Angels only scored 1 run, it made it super impressive because Joe Adell, like I just mentioned a second ago, single-handedly won that game for the Angels that night. And
Yeah.
he's come a long way too. I saw a bunch of videos over the weekend of he's dropped a couple. Ironically, he's had 2. He's tried to jump up and rob 2 home runs, and ironically, both of them ended up popping out of his glove and going over the fence. So he's come a long way, and honestly, I'm very happy for Joe Adell because when he first got drafted by the Angels, he was kind of like this highly touted prospect. It's like, all right, cool. Like the Angels, seems like they finally got one of these draft picks right. He's tearing it up through the minor league system. And then he comes up with the Angels a couple seasons ago, and he kind of gets off to a slow start. And, you hear Angel fans, oh, we should trade this guy. Why was he so touted during the minors? And then it seems like in the last year and a half, because I know he had a good end to his 2025 season, he's starting to put it together, and it all culminated with him robbing the 3 home runs on Saturday night.
Yeah, and also too, I mean, just to add to how impressive it was, I mean, you saw the reactions, man. Not only from the Angels, but I honestly think the Mariners' reactions were a little bit more telling than the Angels because I mean, you saw J.P. Crawford. He was like, "Dude, you got to be kidding me!" Like that's the third time tonight, and I had it, I had the distance, everything else, and then of course Joe Adell comes over, but um, yeah, it kind of just adds to it a little bit for me. Just the reactions to it and I mean, you kind of hit it right on the head with Joe Adell. I mean, he struggled ever since coming up, but dude, like he's only 26 years old.
Right.
It's like people tend to forget that sometimes. That like, listen, like he hasn't even hit his prime yet. Like those prime years, entering is like 26, and then by the end of it, you're like, well, depending on who you are, 30s, give or take. But he's entering that time, man, where if he starts putting these things together with the glove, obviously, as much as we've seen, if he can do that with the bat, this guy can turn into a star player easily.
Absolutely, and it was very cool to get the recognition from because that made national headlines. Dude, I saw that on World Star the next
Yeah,
day. That's how crazy it was. I saw the Joe Adell 3 home runs on World Star, so that was really cool that happened. And I knew I actually I saw a couple people that I know personally that went to the game that night, and I was jealous. Like, damn, you got to see. Like, obviously, I don't like the Angels. I hope they lose the rest of the season. I hope they don't win another game this season. But um, that was really cool. Like I can take off my hatred for the Angels and I can appreciate a moment like that. And I was
absolutely.
jealous of the people that were there. I'm like, damn, you know. So, but yeah. So awesome moment from Joe Adell, and hopefully he could build off of it and have a good rest of his 2026 campaign. But let's get to some injuries here. This is basically the Blue Jays segment here because a lot of Blue Jays got hit with the injury bug over the weekend. Alejandro Kirk, of course, Mookie Betts, I know, not a Blue Jay, Addison Barger, Ponce is back on there, unfortunately, and of course, Juan Soto with the Mets. But um, it seemed like it hit the Blue Jays really hard over the weekend. It was kind of not funny, but it Alejandro Kirk
I,
got hurt. Yeah, he got hurt in that. I want to say it was Friday. He got hurt. Like I think right before the Blue Jays tied. No, it was right before they tied the game and then eventually won it. And then I feel bad for the catcher that had to come in. He had a throwing error that tied the game, and then I think 2 pitches later they hit a base hit and they won the game. And obviously the place went nuts. But um, kind of the injury bug. What injury are you most concerned about?
it's a good question. Obviously, you can't overlook the fact that the Blue Jays have a couple of guys on here. I I think it affects the Blue Jays the most, but if we're looking at only player wise, I'm gonna have to say Juan Soto. Listen, this Mets team, we all know what they are. We all know that the Mets, the age old saying of the Mets are gonna Met, everything else. But more the fact, like they paid a lot of money for this guy. They paid a shit ton of money to have Juan Soto play every day in right field, in the outfield, and him going down, I mean, obviously, we're still hearing about the Francisco Lindor stuff and how he's not really liked in the clubhouse. And Bo Bichette kind of got off to a slow start. So I think for the Mets not to completely unravel, I think it's important to have a guy like Soto in there. It's extremely important. When I look at the rest of these guys individually, I mean, obviously, Cody Ponce kind of sucks because
Yeah,
he's coming off of MVP season from the KBO. And when you look at Mookie, I mean, he's still a star player, everything else, but I think for the Dodgers, they can make it work.
take your
They're fine.
time, Mookie. Don't rush back. We'll see you in a month. Don't rush back. It's okay.
Alejandro Kirk is getting surgery on his thumb today for this injury. Um, Addison Barger, he's a really good utility piece. He kind of kills the Yankees. So I think most impactful injury has to be Juan Soto for me.
Yeah, I agree. And it's what if the Mets go on a run here and they start
Yeah.
playing better baseball? The
Yeah.
narrative is going to change very quickly. It's like, well, do we really need Juan Soto in here anymore? Like
Yeah.
that's the one thing I would be concerned about. Of course,
Hmm.
outside of the injury, like what if the Mets just start playing better? And I know they won the series against the Giants over the weekend, but it's not out of the realm of possibility. What if Lindor figures something out? What if Bichette starts to pick it up?
Yep.
Um, I don't know, just something to keep an eye on. But yeah, the team definitely got hit the most was the Blue Jays. And listen, it's overreaction for a reason. But I don't think the Blue Jays are going to miss the playoffs or anything like that. But I mean, like I said, this goes back to the conversation we had about getting off to these starts. It's like these games that you don't win now, it can come back to bite you in the end. And I know
Absolutely.
for the injury, I know for if the Blue Jays are gonna say, "Oh well, we had a ton of injuries to start the season," but it's like it's injuries are part of the game, and you have to figure out a way to deal with it and next man up mentality. But um, yeah, a lot of injuries, and I don't think that's that uncommon. It's the beginning of the season. Some guys, you know, if there's any positive you can take away from this, I'd rather have the injuries now in April
Hmm.
than in August and in September when these games really start to mean something. But again, of
Yeah.
course, nobody wants to have any type of injuries whatsoever.
Yep.
Konnor Griffin, how about him making his major league debut? Pittsburgh was popping on Friday, man. Those fans are going crazy. That was really cool seeing his family up in like the suite. They were going nuts. And I was watching his first at bat, and I was watching the Dodger game, and then obviously I was like, okay, let me flip over to the Pirates game, and I looked at their lineup. I'm like, oh, well, when's he batting? He was in the 7 hole. But then I was like, dude, why are you changing it? Just watch it. We'll see what happens. Maybe he comes up earlier than expected, and it just felt like he was gonna do something in that first at bat. First of all, I don't know what the pitcher and Adley Rutschman were thinking. He threw him the same breaking ball like 2 times. So, and the third time he recognized it early, put a good swing on it, and he hit a double for his first major league hit and his first major league at bat. And then he shows off his wheels, coming and scoring on a base hit, and the crowd's going crazy. And it felt really good for Pittsburgh to have the moment. I know the Pirates haven't been good in the last couple seasons, but with Paul Skeens and now Konnor Griffin, you're starting to see some of these top prospects for the Pirates maybe start to pay off, and maybe this will lead to something bigger this season or in the next. Because I definitely think that the Pirates are on the upswing of things. Of course, they spent a ton of money this past off season and made some trades to try and build a better team. But um, cool, very very cool debut for Konnor Griffin, and honestly, like from all the hype around this kid, probably one of the most hype um, major league debuts in some time.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think the coolest story with the Pirates is the fact that they're not getting rid of these guys anymore. They're keeping them. And listen, some of the biggest what ifs is what happens if you didn't trade Garrett Cole? What happens if you didn't trade for Chris Archer? Like a lot of what comes along with the Pirates is poor front office decisions, and for the fact that they're not doing that this time, I think it's a breath of fresh air. And adding Connor Griffin to the mix just it kind of solidifies this whole adage of like if you just build without getting rid of them, you never know what's going to happen. And I honestly, I think all Pittsburgh fans can thank Paul Skeens for that because he kind of
Yeah,
drove that forward, and it's just a cool thing to see. I mean, Connor Griffin, he smacked that double for his first MLB hit. That was cool to see, but I also want to talk about his extension because he
that's
did
true.
sign an extension before he even played a game with the Pirates yet. Now, I saw something which I thought was kind of funny. Konnor Griffin signed a 9-year MLB contract for $140 million. Okay. A lot of people are going to say, damn, that's cheap, especially for a guy with this kind of upside, everything else. But I want to put these contracts into comparison with other leagues. Now, the National Hockey League is not known for big contracts like we see in baseball. Sidney Crosby, okay, everybody knows who Sidney Crosby is. You don't need to be a baseball or a hockey fan to know who he is. Played with the Penguins. I'm pretty sure he's played his entire career on the Penguins. Um, his total career earnings is $173 million.
That's insane.
81% of Konnor Griffin's career earnings so far with the contract he signed is, yeah, 81% of what Sidney Crosby has made since being in the National Hockey League. And he's no young buck anymore. I mean, he's been around for quite some time. So I kind of thought that was pretty insane, to be honest, with these contracts and what they're looking like. This guy hasn't even, I mean, when he put pen to paper, he didn't even see one MLB pitch yet. And he already made 81% of what Sidney Crosby has made. And Sidney Crosby, in my opinion, is going to be a future Hall of Famer in the National Hockey League. So it just kind of goes to show you what these contracts are about now, and kind of why we're going to have a lockout next season. But
I was just
yeah,
about to mention that.
kind of crazy.
There's a reason why these players don't want a salary cap in baseball.
This is why.
Because of stats like that.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, good for the Pirates though. They're spending money, and I love to see it. And I hope, listen, for the sake of my Yankees, because there was reports that the Yankees have tried throwing the farm and whatever else the Pirates want for Paul Skeens. I hope that still happens. But for the sake of baseball, I hope the Pirates go out and give him a record-breaking contract. Lock him down. So we'll see. But Konnor Griffin, he shows signs of a star, and he had a pretty cool debut.
Absolutely. ABS, Kyle, you went out of your way to mention, hey, I want to talk ABS. So clearly, you've got a lot on your mind and what you think about it. I'm all ears.
Yeah, it's just kind of wanted to have this as a topic. We've now almost had 2 full weeks of ABS now, and at the major league level, and kind of see what it's about, see if we like it or not. And I'm gonna be honest with you, so far, I don't like it, man. I don't.
Ooh, okay.
I'm not a fan of ABS. I think it takes a lot away from the game itself. And listen, I wasn't a fan of the pitch clock. I wasn't a fan of the extra inning rule. Still jury's out on that. But I feel like we're getting too far away from baseball. You know, I s- it just feels it doesn't feel authentic. And I was watching, I believe, what was it, the Pirates and the Orioles, and the Pirates got absolutely screwed out of the game. Honestly,
Yeah, they had no challenges at the end.
yeah, they had no challenges, so they couldn't, obviously challenge the pitch. And here comes there's a obviously I forget details, but hit a base hit over the left fielder's head, and it ended up scoring the run, which helped the Orioles win the game, obviously. And I don't know, man. I just like, as I'm watching these games and seeing things, maybe these teams just don't have strategies yet, and maybe that's why I'm not a fan of it. I'm seeing like, dude, it's like the fifth pitch of the game, and I see the catcher hitting his head already, and I'm like, dude, what are we doing? The game just started. Like, let it unfold a little bit. And I think I think it's just one of those things that you kind of have to get used to. And maybe I'm just like, I'm so traditional when it comes to baseball. I love baseball, and I love what it kind of grew up on. And for me, like, don't change it if it doesn't need to be. Human error is a part of the game of baseball. And for the fact that, these umps get things wrong sometimes, it happens, this, that, and the other. But I can totally see where ABS, number one, it's going to have to be a strategy now. It's going to have to be part of the game plan. And number two, um, we're gonna see a lot of shitty endings in games, I think, with when it comes to ABS. Um, you're kind of gonna have to figure out, like, in my opinion, I wouldn't be challenging anything until like the fifth or sixth inning, unless it's clear
Yeah.
that challenge is going to be overturned. In my opinion, like I wouldn't change a single thing, or challenge a single thing. Like I would just let it ride until the end because these challenges mean something. They're extremely important. So I don't know, man. I think for me, I'm just like it's taken too much away from the game of baseball, and I guess I just haven't seen enough of it. I don't know, but um, yeah, that's kind of my two thoughts on it. I was just, not a fan, man.
Yeah, I feel like some teams don't have any strategies yet, like you just mentioned. I know the Dodgers, they haven't fully come out and say what their strategy is, but I've heard interviews from players that they have had meetings about what they're gonna do. Like, hey,
Have to.
we challenged only in this situation, or stuff like that. But I agree, like unless it's completely the incorrect call, there's no reason to be challenging in the first inning when it's the leadoff hitter and the game just started. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. And yeah, some of these umpires too, they've been kind of put in the spotlight because of how bad their
Yeah.
strike calling has been. I know C.D. Buckner he had a horrible week last week. Not only did he, um, I think he got two calls wrong in a row, and then he took a foul ball off the mask. I think the later that weekend or something like that. But um,
Hmm.
I like it. I like the ABS. I think to me the thing that I like the most about it is just getting the calls right. And number two, it doesn't really screw up the flow of the game. I think that was the number one thing I was most afraid of when we were getting into these when they were announcing this ABS. It's like, okay, well, I don't want this to screw up the flow of the game. It's like
Yeah.
somebody they tap their head or their helmet, and then it's okay. Well, now we gotta wait 15 seconds for this to come out, and it's usually pretty quick. It's within 5 seconds. You're seeing where the pitch was located, and the outcome of it. So, I guess that was the thing I was most concerned about. But um, I can see why you could be a little turned off about it. Um, so, I could see where you get a little turned off about it. You're not wrong, but
Yeah, and it's
definitely has
also
its flaws. But
yeah,
I
it's
think like you said, we just haven't seen enough of it yet.
I think that's what it is for me. I just haven't seen enough. The game obviously hasn't adapted to it that well quite yet. There's been a lot of mixed challenges. I'll say that. Like for example, the Minnesota Twins have challenged the most. They've been pretty successful. They have 63% of their challenges won. If you look at a team who's used a lot but has not been great, that's the Cleveland Guardians. They challenged 19 times and only succeeded 32%. So and obviously if I read off the rest of these numbers, it's a total
I know
mix.
the
There's some
Yankees have been pretty good so far of challenging and
yeah,
getting them right.
yeah. The Yankees have challenged 23 times, which is good for sixth in baseball, and have won 61%. So they're at the top of the stockpile with percentages correct. But yeah, I mean it's a complete mix. There's teams who are really good and teams who aren't. There's teams who use it a lot and lose a lot, but there's also teams that don't use it a lot and win a lot. For example, the Arizona Diamondbacks have only challenged 14 times, which is good for 26th in baseball and are 71% accurate. So the Diamondbacks are kind of cautious when they're using it. That's what that tells me. So it's going to be interesting to see these end totals when the season's done. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think for me, like I don't like change when it comes to baseball. Because I'm again, I grew up with this game. I love the game the way it was, and when they started introducing these new rules, I feel like I just need to see it a little bit more for me to come out on the other side. But yeah, definitely interesting to say the least.
All right, last thing before we get out of here. Of course, we do this every week. Our teams. I did Dodgers first. Kyle, you can have the Yankees first this week.
All right.
I know you've been
Yeah.
talking a lot, but it's okay. I'll make
No,
up for it right now.
you're fine. Yankees in the last week. What did they do? They've been playing pretty good baseball. I'll say that. I don't have too much to complain about. I think for me,
Second straight
uh,
week. How about it? No
yeah.
complaints.
I mean, there's still some complaints. Don't get me wrong. But they're 7-2, so there can't be much. Um, for me, just I had them. Okay. There's two things that the Yankees kind of need to that I kind of want to see more out of, and that's the bottom of the lineup and bullpen management. Aaron Boone's bullpen management is back at it again. I'm not seeing the right guys in the right situations. Um, Kind of overusing the bullpen. I mean, David Bednar, he's been pitching 35 pitch saves over the last couple of days. I think I want to say it was Friday, he pitched a 30 pitch save, and then on Sunday he pitched, I think, God, 31, 28 pitches, somewhere around there. It's just these guys are not, and again, it's not completely up to Boone. I mean, these guys still have to come out of the bullpen and execute, but Duvall doesn't look that great. Um, the Yankees are like consistently like sticking with Jake Bird for some odd reason. The Yankees traded for him from Colorado last year, and he just hasn't been what we expected. He had to get sent down to the minors after trading for him last year, and I feel like the Yankees are so gung ho on trying to make this guy work. And the Yankees have been really good with the bullpen over the last couple of years. I'd say the last 5 to 10 years, the Yankees have consistently put out good bullpens. But when you try to overuse a guy in the bullpen, it usually backfires on you, which is kind of why we lost that game against Miami, where it was a lot of back and forth. But I'm not entirely loving the bullpen right now, and the bottom of the lineup needs to come around a little bit more. Jazz Chisholm, Ryan McMahon, Jose Caballero, Austin Wells, just to name a few, those guys have been consistently batting under. I think Ryan McMahon is batting under 100, and the rest of the guys are batting under 200. These are consistent guys in your lineup, and they're not hitting the ball. They're not even having competitive at bats. And that's not going to win you ball games, down the stretch. But somehow, some way, the Yankees are still 7-2. They're tied for the best record in baseball with the Brewers and the Dodgers. So I can't complain. But in order to be successful for the rest of this regular season, you got to figure these things out. That bottom of the lineup needs to come around a little bit more. And Jose Caballero is just, I mean, he's not necessarily doing great on the offensive side of things, but he's also not playing great defense either. Now, this guy steals a shit ton of bases. He obviously led the league last year in stolen bases, but you can't steal bases if you're not getting on. And if it wasn't for the guys like Cody Bellinger, Trent Grisham's been having a really good season. Aaron Judge has come around a little bit. Giancarlo Stanton's been off to a hell of a start of his 2026. Um, but he's on a plan right now. I mean, he's missing a couple games every week just to keep him healthy. And when you do that and you lose that production, the other guy's got to step up, and that's not happening. So overall, those are the two things that need to be fixed that I've seen over the last week. Bottom of that lineup and the bullpen. I mean, something's got to give a little bit, or else you're going to start losing more games. And the Yankees have not had the hardest schedule to open up the year. They face the Giants, the Mariners, and the Marlins, and then they open a series against the Athletics. And this weekend they play Tampa Bay. So you have some wiggle room in there to figure this thing out before you start playing some crazier teams. But as of right now, I can't complain too much because, like I said, the Yankees are tied for first in the league. So
Yep. And going over to the Dodgers, you know, when I before we last week, they ended up losing 2 out of 3 of the Guardians, so that was extremely disappointing. Mainly because they did not hit at all during that series. I think they scored a total of 4 runs. I think, and obviously, it was only the first week. Like you're not, this offense was gonna figure it out. They were too good, and that's exactly what they did over the weekend. in Washington, D.C., swept the Nationals. And this offense came alive, man. It was so cool, especially on Friday. Shohei, Mookie, Freddie, and Tucker all went deep Friday. That was beautiful. Pages is continuing to get off to a fantastic start. He's I think statistically one of the best hitters in the National League to start the season, and yeah, this offense finally woke up. I wish they would wake up at home instead of having to go on the road, but I think it was Earl Hershiser who brought up a good point during the broadcast over the weekend that, the first week of the season for the Dodgers, it wasn't your ordinary typical week. They had the banner, the rings, and all these different kind of pomps and circumstances. And of course, I'm sure they had a lot of family and friends first weekend of the season. So it probably did overwhelm and distract them from just going out there and playing baseball. And when you go out on the road, it's just baseball for the most part. And I think you saw that over the weekend. This Dodger team, their offense put it together. And shout out Miles Michaelis once again for helping the Dodgers get back on track. Appreciate your services, my friend. And I think out of the 3 games over the weekend, I think the one that I was most impressed with their victory, the game that I was most impressed with the Dodgers won, was yesterday on Sunday. They were down 6-1, and the Dodgers had every right, and they could have easily just mailed it in and said, hey, you know what? It's not our day today. That's fine. Yesterday, the Dodgers, it started off as a rain delay. The Dodger game was supposed to start, I think at like 1:10 local time. It didn't start till like basically 2.5 hours later. The Dodgers gave a lot of their guys the day off. They gave Max Muncy a day off. They gave Kyle Tucker a day off. They gave Will Smith a day off. Roki Sasaki was not good. That was a little concerning. And halfway through the game, the Dodgers were down 6-1. The Dodgers had every right to say, we're good. We won this series already. Let's just get out of here and let's go to Toronto. But the Dodgers didn't do that. Came back in the game. They got a big home run from Dalton Rushing to cut their deficit from 6-1 to 6-3. And then bottom of the order from guys that you wouldn't think. They got contributions from Santiago Espinal, who had a great spring, and he earned the right to be on this team. Dalton Rushing, Alex Call flipped over the lineup for the big guys. Shohei Ohtani, Teoscar Hernandez had a huge home run, and so I think yesterday was probably my favorite win of the season so far, just because of they came back and obviously won the game. And that's been the fun thing about this Dodger team the last couple seasons. It's like you never feel like they're out of the game with the lineup that they roll every single night. And I want to give the bullpen some credit too, because after Roki Sasaki was only able to give the Dodgers 5 innings, scoreless 4 from the rest of the bullpen. Alex Vesia pitched a scoreless inning. Jack Dreyer got the win and pitched a scoreless inning. Tanner Scott pitched a scoreless inning. And, of course, Edwin Diaz coming in there getting his 3rd save of the season. And it is so refreshing having somebody back there like, okay, we just got to get the ball to the 9th inning with the lead and let Edwin Diaz do his thing. I understand, he's not going to be perfect. I know he's probably going to slip up here and there eventually. It's coming. I know it's coming. And that almost happened Wednesday, I think it was Tuesday night, where he let like the first 2 guys on. It's like, oh shit, here we go. But
this is what the Mets fans were talking about.
Yes, exactly. And listen, I know that's coming, but so far the Edwin Diaz experience has been fantastic. Again, it's allowed some of these other guys, and it's allowed Dave Roberts not to have to worry about the 9th inning. Like, none of this closer by committee crap, none of this playing the matchups. Are the Dodgers winning? Great. Edwin Diaz, go get the last 3 outs. That's it. Thank you. But Tanner Scott has gotten off to a good start, which that makes me feel good, because I'm like, with all the money we paid him last offseason, I really need this guy to work out. So, can't complain. The Dodger offense got back on track, had a huge, big comeback win yesterday, and of course, we got a 3-game series at Toronto tonight, baby. Oh, World Series rematch. I mentioned this. The MLB main MLB Instagram account, they posted, like the poster of the Dodgers Blue Jays World Series. And I'll say the same thing that I said in that comment section, and I'll say it on here. For the Blue Jays, it's a World Series rematch. For the Dodgers, it's just 3 games in April. That's all it is. That's all it is. Dodgers don't care about these 3 games. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be cool to go back there, and I'm going to see all the highlights again of Andy Pages' catch, Miguel Rojas' home run, Will Smith's home run, the double play to end Game 6, the game-ending double play to end Game 7. It's going to be cool to relive all of that these next 3 days, and I'm sure the Dodgers will get a warm welcome from the Toronto fans this week. So, yeah. So the Dodgers are coming back to Toronto, and God, it's so nice that the Dodgers... And it's funny, too, because Blue Jay fans can't say anything. There's nothing you can say. It's like, hey, man, the Dodgers won 2 games in your building to win the championship. It's like there's nothing you can say or do. And unfortunately, both teams are not going to be at full strength. I know Mookie's not playing this series. And, we just mentioned it a couple minutes ago that the Blue Jays are missing some of their guys, Barger, Kirk. But kind of, you got 2 teams that are coming in both opposite directions. You have this Dodger team that's coming in red hot, figuring out their offensive issues. And you got this Blue Jays team that's kind of struggling out of the gate a little bit. Got swept by the White Sox over this past weekend. So it's going to be really cool that the Dodgers we're back in Toronto for just another 3-game matchup for the Dodgers. I know for the Blue Jay fans, it's a chance to probably get their lick back and try to maybe send a little message, I guess. But as a Dodger fan, there's nothing you can say or do because they ended up winning last year. So, but no complaints. Dodgers continue to do what you're doing. Offense continue to hit. Pitching continue to look good. I guess if I have to say one negative, God, Roki Sasaki, man, you better figure this out, man.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, man. I know. I believe me, it's all for the first 10 minutes, for however long I've been talking. Sunshine and roses. Everything was nice. And then Roki Sasaki decided to take the mound on Sunday. But now, again, this might be me just having a soft spot for him. I'll give him a little bit of a pass. There was a rain delay, got pushed back 2 hours. I'm sure his routine got all screwed up. But we gotta start seeing some real results here, man, because I know it wouldn't be a good look, but if he has another couple of these bad starts, you really got to consider sending him down to the minors again, or really for the first time since his injury. So, again, it's too early for that. The Dodgers are going to allow him. The Dodgers are going to give him this long leash to try and figure it out. But if we get to the end of April here, beginning of May, and he still hasn't figured this thing out, there's got to be a AAA stint for him. Especially, there was a lot of people, and the Dodgers are sheltering him too a little bit. River Ryan looked really good in spring training, and he's looked really good so far to start AAA. But the Dodgers want to shelter him and go easy with him because he's just coming back from this huge arm injury. So, but if River Ryan continues to pitch well and Roki Sasaki continues to struggle, I'm sorry. Let's get River Ryan up here and let's get him in this rotation. But, yeah, Dodgers sending out the heavy hitters too for the rotation going in Toronto. You got Justin Robleski, which, of course, if you don't remember, he wanted to fight the entire Blue Jay team in that Game 7, so he's pitching tonight. And then you got the World Series MVP, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, taking the hill tomorrow night. That's going to be electric. I hope that he throws another shutout, baby. We hope we see it. And then, of course, Shohei Ohtani pitching Wednesday for you, and then we head back home for a 6-game homestand beginning with the Rangers and the Mets. So, yeah. But Dodgers 7-2. They look good. They figured out their offensive problem. Everybody's happy right now. And, of course, Mookie get well soon. Again, thankfully, this happened in the beginning of the season. I do feel bad because Mookie got off to a good start. It seems like the power in his swing was back. He was always playing good defense, but again, the Dodgers have this incredible depth where it's like, hey, you know what? We can put you on the IL and we can make sure you get 100% instead of trying to rush you back because the team needs it. So Hae-Sung Kim was finally brought up. I know a lot of his fan club was very happy to see that over the weekend. So, and he's getting his first start tonight. So we'll see how that goes. But very excited to see this matchup against the Blue Jays again and relive all the World Series memories one last time from last year. But Dodgers 7-2. No complaints out of me. Keep it up, and Roki Sasaki, please figure it out.
Absolutely.
There you have it.
I'll be a huge shot
yes.
over the next 3.
Yes. We welcome all people. Don't wrong. We don't. We'll take it. We'll take any extra support we can get right now. So.
Absolutely. I will be cheering you guys on from my couch. So.
There. I hope Shohei hits a freaking tank this weekend, this series. And like I said, I hope Yamamoto pitches a complete game shutout. That would be fantastic. But
it would be.
Yeah, so. All right, then. Well, unless you got anything else, I think that's going to do it.
I think that's it, man.
Episode 177 in the books. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you again next week. Adios.